Buenos Dias Gunners Collective. Back at it, you already know. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Let me flex on them one time. Bye. All right, as you can tell by that thumbnail right there, the red hand, this is the red hand, right? Now let me tell you something about the red hand. This is a SNY gang that not a lot of people know about. The only reason I know about them is I met one guy in the oil one time, right, in passing. He actually came to the oil. He was in transit, and I started getting at him. He was a Native American guy. Now, in a Minnesota direct fashion, I don't know if these guys blew up. I don't know if there was a lot of them on the Yarda. I don't even know if it was one of those clandestine groups where they were trying to do just a little too much. But like I've said, there's a lot of SNY groups or gangs that form out of a necessity for protection, I guess, or they just still got it in them. They still want to gangbang. They still want to be part of something when they're outcasted, when they're ostracized, when they're no longer included in the reindeer games. So it's like, God, I don't want to gangbang, right? Shut up, bitch. Right? The guard said it ain't going to never happen, right? They're done. They are done, right? Stick a fork in them. You know, they're roasted, toasted, and now they're getting ghosted. It's definitely a situation where once you're done, you should be done. But I agree that people are able to exercise their own rights and do whatever they want to do. Each man is his own man. Now, getting at this individual, he could have been off his rocker like Kai the Hitchhiker, right? A smash, right? Or he could have been telling me the truth. Because I have heard about this group from other people. But it was a Native American dropout gang. And you say to yourself, why would Native Americans drop out? Why would they have a reason? Well, for those of you that don't know, there are Native American gangs or gang members that are of the indigenous groups. You know, there was a gang a long time ago I knew up in the Pacific Northwest, which was the IPO. The IPOs were about their shit. There was also another group called the NDNs, the Indians. And several other Native American groups. You know, there was a lot of Norteños in the Pacific Northwest that were actually also Native Americans. Now, a lot of these individuals have res gangs. When I say res gangs, I mean they live on the reservation and they have different groups, you know, different groups of homies that might have grew up together that start to form gangs. I have seen Crips, I have seen Sangres. I've seen a little bit of everything when it comes to these reservation gangs. I have a lot of good homeboys that are Native American from the Tule Res and Tulare County, all the way from the Pomo and the Mono Indians. Just good gente, good people. Don't give them no alcohol though. That kid's gonna be game over. It's gonna be game over. You know what I mean? You give them a little bit of that fire water, they're gonna start burning shit down. But one thing I will say is this: definitely, when this guy told me about this gang, the Red Hand, I thought it unusual because I was like, you're not gonna see a lot of Native Americans fall off. You might see them fall off the wagon, but you're not gonna see them fall off or go to the other side. What is considered the other side? Okay, general population in prison is considered one side, and then SNY yards are considered the other side. So when guys are like, hey, I'm going to the other side, then he's going to the dark side. Luke, come back, I am your father. Right? Nope, they're not coming back. They're on that other side for good now. Over there chilling with Jabba the Hutt or Peaks of the Hut, however you want to call it. But one thing I do know that is absolutely facts is that while I'm sitting in the oil and this guy's in transit, you know, he's a Native American with long hair, so I start to pop out. Hey, what's up, bro? What's happening, homie? You know, where you coming from? And he was like, hey, little brother, where I'm coming from, no man should ever go. And I was like, okay, so he's speaking in riddles. So this vato must be either he's the Riddler or he's the dancing bear of his tribe. One or the other, because he's definitely speaking in riddles and you know, he's old school. And I was like, yeah, so to what degree of no man should go? I mean, because I'm just trying to find out where you're coming from. And he was like, yeah, I'm coming from, he was actually coming from SADF, which was an SNY yard where he was placed. And he told me that, you know, he formed a group, that he was not one of the leadership, but that there he was establishing a group, that he had come from a different place, and that they were pretty deep. And it was called the Red Hand. And why they took the symbolization of the Red Hand, you know, we got brown people, you know, we got black people, we got the Woods brothers, white is pure, brother, right? You got white. And then, of course, you have the red people, which they consider themselves red-skinned, you know, of red color. So they ran with this symbolization, the red hand. Now, through due course in history of time, there's been other gangs that have used this symbolization or other groups, allegedly. But to see this tattooed on this guy's, he actually had it almost on his chin and his face right here. And I noticed that about these SOY groups is a lot of these guys, they go over there to that other side and they start getting their whole face blasted. And it's like they act like they're not going to get out and work at Burger King or something. You know what I mean? It's like, I understand you wanting to get a few tattoos on your face. That's cool. I guess that's what it is nowadays. But these vatos go overboard, above and beyond the Call of Duty. Orale Vanguard. They do their thing. They get all tatted down. Especially on their máscara and neck. I see one guy, his whole face is blasted, ears, neck, everything. He took off his shirt. Man, he was bone white. He looked like bone marrow, right? About to look like a tusk from a mammoth, a woolly mammoth. Nothing. Looked like he needed a whole lot of sun. From right here on up, blasted. He looked like Baldacci. From down here, Sasuke, he looked like Julia Roberts from Pretty Woman. The vato was all toe back, right? But that's the era we live in. That's, people want you to see. They want you to perceive that gangsterism. They think being tatted is a gangster symbol. See me, I throw a shirt on, and you can't even tell. You might see a few things right here, Penta Latina. But as far as the face all blasted and tatted, nah, you're never gonna see that with me. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Some people get it, they rock it. It's just not my stilo. But he definitely had this red hand on his face, and so I started to ask him about it, and he started to, indoctrinate me and educate me into what their plight was. And basically, they were a group of native brothers, man, that found themselves in no man's land. Let's say on the other side. To what degree of getting on that other side, I definitely asked him if he was a weirdo. That was right off the top, because I couldn't just see a native brother going to the other side without being, some weirdo. He shot me some paperwork that he definitely wasn't a weirdo. But I can't call it. Like I said, I don't know. At the end of the day, and he was just my vecino. We didn't have a few, it was kind of empty in that oil, so I'm chopping it up with who I can. And we're talking very quietly through the doors, And so he's like, hey, little brother. Hey, listen, little brother. That's how he talked, right? He was like, he was like, what we do is it's an exclusive native group. You have to be able to trace your native blood back. You have to be 100% pure or 80% pure, whatever the case may be. And we're a group that started out by necessity. I said, well, you sound just like any of these other groups that always form out of oppression and necessity. I understand that, but who would want problems with you guys? What necessity do you guys have that people are tripping on you? He said, well, at one point in time, because there wasn't a lot of natives on these SOY yards, they get money. Now, anyone that hasn't ever been on a yard, period, with a Native American, one thing I will say is this, and you need to decipher to what degree of Native American they are, because you always have white guys from Oklahoma that say they're Cherokee. They have chokers around their neck and long hair. Mexicanos as well. But they can't speak a lick of English with a bead choker around their neck, talking about, I'm going to the sweat, my name is right? It's crazy. But when you figure out who is who, and you can pretty much tell, these vatos are cool, but they got feria for the most part. They're either a dirt dog, no liar, with nada, a res dog, homie, like Michael Thompson, right? They either got nothing and nada, or they got bread. Everyone tries to keep it cool with the Native Americans on the yada, because everyone knows the Native Americans are getting their money. They're getting their shmoney on, right? They got that shmoney cracking. And that's just based on, a lot of them come from big reservations where there's a lot of reparations given back to them. They have casinos, they have multi-million-dollar corporations or companies or housing. And these people, man, they were able to utilize their resources and flip it. And, what the government has given to them, they make sure that everybody in their tribe gets a piece. The wind blows. Everybody, one never knows, does one. Everybody gets a little piece of that action tonight. Hey, Rosie. You know what I mean? You what? Right? Bob was all weirded out. So anyways, everyone knows that natives have bread like that. So I guess when they go to the SOY yard, for whatever the reason may be, whether it was a bad case, whether they got into it with someone and was on an enemy list, or, they would get over there and there's predators. There's people there that are broker, than Baby Joker, that are looking for a little bit of bread. And so they knew the Native Americans, and it could be a young guy, that didn't have, that has money, but didn't have too many friends. Because I guess on those other yards, man, you're on your own. On your own, right? You're on your own, and no one's going to look out for you but, your close homeboys, your camaradas, or whoever you keep around you. So now, in this case, I kind of understood where the oppression was coming in. He was like, a lot of my little brothers were getting, manhandled and things taken from them. And I said, to what degree of manhandle are we talking about here? Because the conversation just went weird. But at the same time, it's intriguing, but I just want to know because, At this point in time, I don't, I just don't know the definition of manhandle. He said, no, basically they were getting beat up, choked out, and everything was getting took from their cell. I said, okay, we're thinking different. We're thinking different. Definitely, I was thinking of a man handling another man, and I just didn't like to hear that. I just wasn't trying to go that route. So anyways, he told me his little story about how his little brothers and man, it took him and a few older heads, or even some older heads before him, to start this group. And the reason they chose that symbolization as the red hand is they figured it would strike fear in people's hearts. It looked kind of gangster. It struck fear in people. And he said when they came together and they held it down, people definitely took notice. Now, I had never, prior to meeting this guy, heard of this group. I've heard of the Zapatistas, the Two Fivers or whatever, the Northern Riders, the Independent Riders, the Brothers by Choice, Sucker Freeze, Capital Punishment. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on and on. There's so many of these different groups. Lacra's all-time favorite, the GBGs. There's just a whole bunch of different groups, I guess, that they got going on. But I had never heard of the Red Hand until I met this individual. So after our conversations, he was a cool dude, man. He had feria. He used to shoot me magazines, and he was there for about 3 or 4 days before they shot him to off transport. It took forever for him to get his property, but when he was able to get his property, work a cop out of it, then he shot me some good books. He let me keep educational books, Native American books. It was all good. Good dude, right? From what I knew of him. So he ends up moving on. So when I get out of prison, I actually go to the Tule Res, which is in Tulare County, and I got some people up there, some friends that I've been messing with for years. And I started asking, man, you ever heard of a dropout group called the Red Hand? And one of them did. He was like, yeah, bro, make sure there's no actors around here. Don't talk about that, right? Because that's a very prominent group. And he started telling me all this. They thought I was in a CIA interrogation. I didn't know what he was talking about, right? But I said, look, hey, boss, kick back. Kick it, right? It's not the here. Have a pistol. Relax. You know what I mean? Hey, orale. Hey, man. Hey, Javier's outside, Holmes. Hey, have a pistol. Kick back, Chewy, right? I said, listen, bro, all I know is I met some fucking viejo, some OG Native American who told me this and that. He said, nah, it's true, but it's a group that's not spoken on a lot. Those who know, and those who don't. I said, well, why are you so secretive? If you're trying to protect each other, he said, because we do it when we have to. See, Native Americans, and my knowledge of them, having done time on the yard with them, I didn't have very much interaction with them. They did function on the same side of the yard as the Southsiders and the whites. That was a fact. You would have the Southsiders, the whites, and the Native Americans on the one side, and the Paisas. And then, of course, on our side would be the Norteños, the Africano brothers, and the others, which would be the Asians or Polynesians, or any other that they identified or allowed in that group. I mean, that's pretty much was the makeup of the yards that I went to. It could be different other places. But the Native Americans were able, just like the others, to wiggle and talk to whoever they wanted to. But for the most part, they kind of stuck to their side of the day room and did their willings and dealings with, whoever they were on the yard with. I don't never quite remember too much willings and dealings with them, but I do remember, having conversations with them in the chow hall, working, working on the yard crew, and just be like, hey, what's up, bro? Hey, what's up, my brother? I did get invited to a sweat. I know a little bit about the indigenous community. I know a little bit about the natives. But I can't sit here and tell you that I know a lot. Now, one thing I do know, because the wind's blowing. Guard! The fucking wind's blowing. No, we're having a storm out here. Help me with the sandbags, puto, right? One thing I will say is this. If there is a group like that, it's just another one in the long line of groups. Have they done anything special? Have they caught bodies? One never knows does one, but I've never heard of them even subsequently after that. I just from these are the only 2 individuals that ever told me, but then I never inquired. I wasn't that inquisitive to inquire about, hey, is there a group called the Red Hand? Because at the end of the day, what did it mean to me? It was just another dropout gang formed for self-preservation or protection or greed or envy or whatever they do, clout. Like I said, I don't like to wolf on anybody and belittle anyone's group, because at the end of the day, man, it's not my business and I should not do that. There's no reason to do that. Everyone's a true believer in what they believe in for a reason. Okay, but one thing I will say was the guy that I talked to that was from this group with the red hand on his face was a decent dude, was a good fella. He definitely had game. He was gamed up. He had done over 18 to 19 years in the California Department of Corrections. So it wasn't like he was new to this. He did find himself on the other side. Like I said, some people go to the other side for different reasons. That's like saying, hey, where's the Africano brother on the other side? They don't gangbang like that. Oh, they do. They do. They got different politics and different things going on. And sometimes people go over there out of a necessity, out of fear, or they just get tired of being around certain people, or what. I don't know. I can't call it like an alcoholic. One thing I do know, yes indeed, as I write graffiti all over this bus, is that the vato ended up over there. Okay? My only concern was, did you tell a whole lot of people? My second concern was, and even more so, is, are you a weirdo? Because I don't like to sit there and have conversations with the weird guys, right? I'm trying not to do that. Most definitely. But he definitely, proved to me that he wasn't, and maybe he was, I don't know. But at the end of the day, I didn't think so. So, he told me about this group. It's just, I like to bring you guys new flavor, something different, different stories, because not a lot of people can verify, if there was really a red hand, this Native American group. But then the Native Americans, they don't talk a lot, man. They're very stoic people, very quiet, unless you give them a little pistol, and then it's Rosie. I might mistake you for Rosie. They're different. They turn into res dogs, and it's on, right? Have you ever seen a Native American chick out the res? Man, they hit different, right? It's just different. But I got a lot of respect for the Native people, man. A lot of love for them. We all are derived from indigenous, from the different tribes, and we never forget that, gente. Never forget who was here first, So I definitely got a lot of respect. But one thing I will say is that, the having brought that to my attention, I thought it would be for no other reason to bring that to your attention. Because, a lot of you people that watch my channel are interested in the prison politics. You guys are interested on these different groups and gangs that spring up from the, that bloom from the concrete. As myself, I am too. I like hearing about these new groups and what they entail. Like I said, I don't know if this was even really truly a group, or if this was all in that Barbosa's mind. Now, I know I said I met the guy on the streets, or I kicked it with the guy on the streets, who also told me that was the truth and facts. And I said, well, how do you know so much about it? You was in the SY group like that? He said, no, guard! Get him, right? And he was, to what degree of what he was having this knowledge, I don't know. But of course, the Native American community, man, they're very close, and they talk. So somewhere along the line, this leaked down to them. But there are different groups, people that say, oh man, the natives don't rock like that. The AMIs, like I said, the IPOs, the NDNs, just a lot of different groups that I've happened to run into or have knowledge of. And this is another one, the Red Hand. Absolutely, I'm going to take it as concrete and stamp that and say that it is a dropout group that's going on in the SYRs. Is it still around? I don't know. This was years ago when I ran into this guy in the county, in the oil. But I definitely will say that he did, tell me that they were a group formed to protect, the Native American people from getting, basically bamboozled, razzle-dazzled, and getting got, because people will get you. Especially when there's no structure and no rules and regulations. It's the Wild Wild West. I say, órale, pinche Wyatt Earp. You feel me? Swifty. Getting their Wyatt Earp on, and vatos will run up on you on the yarda and take what you have, because it's legal. I say, hey, everything's illegal, right? In a fight. And that's just what it is. Anyways, with that being said, man, if you're skeptical about the story of the Red Hand, inquire into it. Ask some of your Native partners, because like I said, man, I've only heard it from 2 people. But then again, I've never really researched it and sat back. And, everything that I've looked into about it, I've never, maybe you have a carnal who rolled it up. Maybe you have, a neighbor who's on Megan's Law. Maybe, I don't know. Someone that's been on that yard, man, go hit them up and ask them. And, maybe they'll tell you if that's the true facts. Or if not, all I know is it was very trippy to hear him say that he was from this group. And the symbolization was also a trip. With that being said, Musmo with a purpose, had to get everything that you want coming to you. Remember, at the end of the day, it's all about struggling and striving for your familia. Going out there again. I hope you enjoyed this new story, something a little bit different, as I will be bringing you a double banger later on today. Be on the lookout, because I ain't stopped. Oh, I said I ain't stopped. I got a crazy one later, gente. I said, ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Oh, snaps, right? If you like me, hit that like and subscribe with a thumbs up. If not, thumbs down. If it's going to be the head that wears this Golden State crown. Yeah, I had to break out the city one time and get shitty one time. You know what it is. This is the gun. If you don't like me, it's fine. Fine and dandy. It's like candy. I understand what it is. This is the gun, homies. Bang, bang. Gracias.